About Thursday night's class. Tonight's class was sponsored Lilui Nishmat Chananya Ben Malka and Miriam Bat Tuvia. Tei Nishmatam Tzura B'Tzor HaChaim Began Eden Ha'Elyon and Kol HaTzadikim VaChasidim. Amen v'Amen. First, I owe everybody an apology for last week, but it was beyond my control. I wasn't able to make it, and I think you all know that the Thursday night class, in general, even if it means traveling across the globe to make it, I do. But sometimes Hashem has other plans. So I went with God's plan and I couldn't fight it. But Baruch Hashem, we're here tonight instead. Or in addition. Tonight's Rosh Chodesh Av, Menachem Av. The Poskim discuss on Shabbat Mevarchim, if you do Birkat HaChodesh or Chodesh Av or not. Most of the communities are noheg that we do Birkat HaChodesh or Chodesh Av. There are a few that don't. And then they also have an interesting discussion. It's brought down in multiple poskim. When you write the month of Av, do you write just Av? Or do you write Menachem Av? Menachem means to console, like it should be a month that should turn around to consolation. Or there are many poskim that write an interesting thing. They don't even write the month Av. You just write Menachem. It should be a Chodesh Nechama. And that's really our prayer, that Bezat Hashem, Chab Av shouldn't be this year. And instead it should be a Yom Tov. It should be a day of celebration. It's going to be a Yom Tov one day. We don't say Tachanun on Tisha B'Av because Megillat Echa. Tisha B'Av is called a Moed, a holiday. That means that we live with the Emunah, with the simple faith, that Bezrat Hashem one day, and inshallah it should be already this year, that it should be a holiday of the Nechama. In the spirit of Chodesh Av, we're going to talk about Inyanei HaChurban, things that have to do with the temple and the destruction of the temple, and how what our role is in this today. But again, we give this disclaimer in advance that we're talking about it with the hope that this should be a class that nobody will even have a chance to see tomorrow, because before that Mashiach should come, inshallah, and we shouldn't need to discuss this anymore, but instead we should discuss the great celebration. There's a wonderful, wonderful sefer called Yeshua v'Nechama. Yeshua, everybody needs Yeshuot, each one in their way, and Nechama, and consolation. A lot of the things that are brought down in that sefer have to do with struggles. Many of them have to do with different episodes and scenarios that happened during World War II. Over there he brings down a story, and a story that the outcome of the story we all know, but the way the thing came about, maybe we don't know, so it's good to repeat. And this year, Hashem gave me Siyat Dishmaya, and I found in a sefer written by Posen, in the name of Shlomo Levenstein, that he quoted another rabbi that's a very, very close dear friend of mine in Israel, Mordechai Neugershel, who explained the story. So for the first time I understood the whole story. Listen to this. We're talking in the midst of World War II, and the Polish government, who today we know they are legal Holocaust deniers. They even put it into their law. But they contributed to a lot of death of a lot of Jews during World War II. Had a train that left from them that was on its way to Birkenau, to the death camps where many, many Jews died al Kiddush Hashem, gave their souls for God's name. And Jews are put onto a train, at the walls are made of wood, cattle carts, jammed in the worst case, and they weren't naive, they knew exactly where they were going to. The spirits obviously weren't so high. The environment was a little bit depressing, to put it mildly. In one of these scenarios, there was an amazing Jew who ended up dying, Hashem Yinkom Damo. His name was Rabbi Israel David Pastag, very famous Jew. He was a Mojitz Chassid, he was a student of the Mojitz Rebbe. And this Jew was standing in the train. They didn't have where to sit even. They were crammed in the train. And the Polish Goyim were outside, and they were watching the Jews being loaded onto this train that was taking them to their death. And the Polish Goyim was celebrating, while the Jews knew that their lives are Tluyim Mineged, hour by hour, depend on what's going to happen soon. And as the train is departing, he's thinking in his mind, what's a Jew supposed to think at this moment? What's a Jew supposed to think at this moment? It's the worst situation. Hashem should never test us. And he concluded that a Jew is supposed to be happy. Happy? What's happy? So his conclusion came in a very interesting way. He said, what's the worst thing that can happen to me? They'll kill me. That's the worst situation. He said, why are they killing me? Because I'm a Jew. If they kill me because I'm a Jew, so I'm called Harugei Malchut. Somebody was killed because only because he's a Jew. That means that I'm going straight to Gan Eden, to the highest place in Gan Eden. The Gemara teaches us a law, a halacha, that says that if somebody was killed because he was a Jew, then you're not allowed to say a eulogy on him. If anything, the logic says just the opposite. That's the first person you should say a eulogy on. Is, you know why you can't say a eulogy on such a Jew? Because he's on such a high level spiritually at that point that there's nobody alive that's worthy of saying a eulogy on such a person. That's what a high level he's on. Kedoshei Elyon, the holiest of the holy. So he says, so I'm going to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu, my Father in heaven, in the holiest way possible. So if that's the case, it's time to be happy. And he looks around him and he sees that everybody's depressed and crying and scared and nobody's happy. So then he thinks to himself and he says, why am I thinking that I should be happy and everybody else is thinking not like that? So it must be that I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing something over here. And he goes back and forth in his mind, and in short his conclusion was that he's not missing anything. They're missing something. And what are they missing? They're missing a simple faith. Emunah pshuta, basic faith. That there's a Father in heaven who's a Av Rachum, even though sometimes we don't feel it or see it. He's a God of mercy. And this God of mercy has some plan behind this terrible tragedy. And at that point, he wants to reiterate to himself that foundation of faith, that in all situations in life, there's a God of mercy who stands behind everything that happens in the world. And he reiterates it to himself by saying the words, Ani ma'amin be'emunah shlema, I believe. Now in the Rambam, he brings down 13 different foundations of faith. There's a Yud Gimel Ikarim of Emunah, and they're all Ani ma'amin. We believe that Torah Moshe is true, we believe this, we believe that. 13 foundations of faith. Out of those 13, he picks one. He picks one that's Ani ma'amin be'emunah shlema b'viat HaMashiach, in the coming of the Messiah. V'af al pi she'itma'amea, even though it may be a little delayed, it may take time until he comes. In kol zeh achakelo b'chol yom she'yavo, I wait for him every day. Let's try to envision this a little bit. To relive it, obviously we can't in any way because we're so far from this. You know, we live in the comforts that our big issue is that maybe our tire is low on air. That's our worries in life. Here are Jews that know that their hours are numbered, that they're going to be killed b'mita meshuna, in a weird death in the best case scenario in the gas chambers. That even a grave they won't have because their bodies will be burnt. That there's nothing going to be left. This is the most tragic thing that can possibly be. And in those moments, a Jew is thinking to himself, Ani ma'amin be'emunah shleima b'viat HaMashiach. I have grounded faith, a rational faith, that there will be a day, it may not be today, but there will be a day that Mashiach is going to come. Even though now it looks like he's taking his time, he's in no rush to show up, and it's taking time. In kol zeh, with that, achakelo, I wait for him eagerly, b'chol yom she'yavo, at any given moment. Over the generations, we saw many, many tzaddikim that lived their life like that every second of the day. I had the merit to see some of them. One of them that was a legend in this area was the great Mashgiach of Lakewood, Rav Nosson Bachfogel, Zechat Tzadik V'Kadosh L'Vracha, Zchutei Yagen Aleinu. I had the merit that after I had, it wasn't my merit, it was because he was friends of the family and my father, Shibadel Chaim Tovim, that he came to my bar mitzvah, and over there we developed a relationship that lasted until a few days before he passed away. Every single time I walked into his house, and I went into his house many, many, many times in my life, during the short years that I was alive, that he was alive, he always used to, the first thing he would say to me, before hello, before anything, was he would start giving me all these reasons that he had in his mind why Mashiach's coming today. And I can go into him sometimes twice in the same day, and I would hear the same thing over again, the same day 2 times. You know why Mashiach's coming today? Because today is this date, and therefore on this date is a good day, and he would give me a whole case. And sometimes I would want to tell Chacham, this is come on, let's be a little more rational. This doesn't make any more. That was the emunah pshuta, the simple faith, to the point that he had a suitcase or a Today we would call it a carry-on because that was more or less the size. I never saw the inside of it, but I saw the outside of it once. That he kept in it clothes that were his clothing to be mikabel pnei Mashiach. He had his new set of clothing that he's going to wear when Mashiach comes. And that was the thing that was placed in the front part of his closet. The first thing he encountered when he opened his closet wasn't his clothing. It was that special box that he had of his items that he had that he was going to go accept pnei Mashiach. It's a level of emunah, it's unbelievable. And like this, there were many, many tzaddikim over the generations. That's just one that I had the zchut to see. L'avdil ben chaim l'chaim. I have a very, very close friend who was also chavrusa for a while, and he benefited me a lot spiritually, so I feel extremely indebted to him. You should never know, he was very ill with a rare genetic disease that the medical world doesn't have solutions for. And many times we discuss different things that have to do with doctor appointments and trial treatments and other things and different things along the way that have to be done. And if I tell him I'll pick you up tomorrow at noontime and I'll take you somewhere, he always tells me tomorrow noon, Mashiach's going to be here before that. And he doesn't want to he's not willing to hear a plan. If it's 11:59 and I'm outside the house, no, so Mashiach didn't come, what should we do? He comes into the car. And even on the way, I tell him, the doctor said this. So what does it make a difference? Mashiach's going to come, and when Mashiach comes, everything's going to be healed. We don't need to worry. And this is somebody who lives amongst us, who I have I have an unfortunate merit to help him out on a daily basis. These are Jews that live with a real feeling of Mashiach. So this tzaddik, Rabbi Zviel David, is on the train, and he's thinking to himself and saying out loud, Ani ma'amin be'emunah shlema, over and over again. Those who are acquainted a little bit with the idea of the Chassidut of Mojitz, Mojitz is a Chassidut that is prominent in anything to do with song, melody. The Mojitz Rebbe has composed beautiful, beautiful, complicated compositions of music. Even the most brilliant musicians today are mind-boggled by the depth and how complex some of their compositions were. And he's a Mojitz Chassid, so of course, Koach HaNegina, the power of music, is in his DNA. And at a certain point, he's saying these words over and over, and he composes a tune to it. And it's a tune that I'm sure all of us know. I don't know how to sing, so I'm not going to try and sing it to you. But, because then it'll really be chabav over here. But, yeah, he composes a famous, famous tune. Ta'ani ma'amin be'emunah shlema beviat Mashiach. There's faith in the coming of the Messiah. And he starts singing on a train on the way to his death. And when one Jew sings, melody is something that's contagious in a good way, if it's used the right way, in a good way. So another Jew joins him, and another Jew joins him, and suddenly the whole train, the whole area of the train that he's in is all singing this song that he just had composed. And now Jews that are in another one of these cattle carts on the same train hear a song, and they start singing along. And quickly these Polish goyim, Yimach Shemam V'Shem Zichram, including their descendants, that today are Holocaust deniers, see that the Jews that they were laughing, that are so scared, that are going to death, are lunatics. They're singing songs, they're happy. They couldn't digest it. They couldn't digest what it means to live like a Jew and what it means to die like a Jew. And at that point, when the song really picked up and the Jews got a lot of chizuk from it in those terrible, terrible moments, they all died almost except for one at the end of the story, there was a moment of silence. He stopped singing, and when he stopped singing, the others stopped singing too. And when it was quiet, he said out loud that he's willing to make a deal. He said, I'm too old, sick, and frail as a result of everything we've been through. He said, but in here, in this train, there's some of you that are still young and maybe have more physical strength. If somebody will jump off the train and survive World War II somehow and make it to America and go to my Rebbe, the Mojitz Rebbe, who had already escaped and been in the United States, and teach him and tell him this tune that I composed, I promise him half of my Olam Haba. It's not a bad deal. And two young boys jumped off the train. We should never know. One boy was killed on the spot from what happened. The other boy, in a very long story of miraculous ways, survived and ended up in the U.S. He survived World War II, he beat all the odds, he got to the U.S. somehow. There's a long story about it. And when he came to the U.S., his mission was to go to the Mojitz Rebbe. Now he had something with him. It's not only that he survived. Listen to what the miracle here is behind this. This chassid of Israel was scared that this person, even if he makes it out alive, how's he going to remember the tune? But everything he's going to have to go through till he gets to America, which is already against the odds, there's no way he's going to remember. So he was extremely musical, and he ripped off a piece of his clothing, whatever clothes, if you can call that clothes, and he took a piece of metal, like a screw that was over there attached, holding the beams together of that cattle cart, and he engraved inside the piece of garment that he took off the musical notes of the tune that he composed. And he gave him this piece of cotton, I think it was, and he said, "Give this to the Rebbe for me." And this boy gets to the United States after World War II in miraculous ways, and he comes to the Majitzer Rebbe. The day he arrives in the Majitzer Rebbe's house is Erev Kippur, 3 hours before the fast starts. And he walks into the Rebbe, and the Rebbe's heart was open for all those who have survived these broken hearts after World War II. And the young boy comes in and says he needs to see the Rebbe emergency. Of course, the Rebbe stopped all his avodah and everything he was doing. He says, "Come in, my son." And he says, "Rebbe, I don't want to take your time. It's Erev Kippur. I just want to give you something." And he hands him this thing, and he says, the Rebbe says, "What's this?" And he says, "This was a tune that was composed by your great student of Israel David on the way to Auschwitz, on the way to his death." And he tells him the whole story behind it. And the Rebbe looks at the boy and he says, "You're going to come to the prayers tonight?" And he says, "Sure, I'm going to come." He says, "Did you eat, my son?" He says, "No." He says, "Come, eat." And he serves him a meal of Erev Kippur, and then the Rebbe goes back to his avodah, and they meet again in shul. The Majitzer Rebbe used to speak every year in the shul on Kippur, like many of the Chachamim do until today, right before Kol Nidrei. And that year he walked into shul before Kol Nidrei, and it's the moment that the Hasidim wait for all year that the Rebbe should say his holy words. And the Rebbe says, "Rabotai, this year there's no songs. There's no speech. Instead of the speech, there's a song." That's what he told him. He said, "Rebbe, songs? What song? We sing all year. This is Kol Nidrei. It's the most important moment of the year. We got to be ready for Yom Kippur. We really, this is not a time for..." And the Rebbe says, this song is holier than all our prayers, and that all the words of Musar that we could give, and that anything else that we could say, this is where Yom Kippur is at. And he takes out this piece of cotton that had in it a few musical notes written, and he teaches his Hasidim the song, and before Kol Nidrei, the entire Majitzer Beis Medrash in the United States sings this wonderful tune that Am Yisrael knows and sings until this very day, "Ani ma'amin be'emunah shlema beviat HaMashiach. Va'afal pi she'yitma'an meya," even though sometimes it feels like he's never coming, it's taking so long. "Im kol zeh," with all that, achakeh lo, I wait for him eagerly, b'chol yom she'yavo. Ad kan is the story. And for years, it's been bothering many. Out of all 13 Ani Ma'amins, why did he pick this one? If anything, at that moment, the first Ani Ma'amin is that everything that God does is with a calculation. There's a God who runs the world. That would be Mashiach. Mashiach is so far at that point. Why did he pick this? And I saw from Shlomo Levenstein that he brings down from Yagen Shlita, Hashem should watch over them, two great Jews that help a lot for Am Yisrael. That Rav Yagen said an unbelievable explanation to this story. Rav Yagen quoted a Zohar. The Zohar is in Parashat Vayera. In the old print, it's page Lamed Tet Amud Aleph. The Zohar says amazing words. That these words should be with us during these days. That should be days that should turn around to a big simcha Be'ezrat Hashem. The Zohar says that there's a discussion if the Zohar means any time throughout the month or on Rosh Chodesh, but the simple understanding of the Zohar is that this happens every year, every month on the day of Rosh Chodesh. The Zohar goes on the Zohar says that on that day, Mashiach, the neshama of Mashiach, the soul of Mashiach, goes on a little journey and he travels in paradise, in Gan Eden. Why does he go into paradise where Mashiach, somebody lives amongst us in this world? The Gemara has a discussion if it's in Sharei Romi, in the gates of Rome, or maybe even in Eretz Yisrael amongst us. But it's somebody that's alive amongst us. So why does the soul have to go up to Gan Eden on Rosh Chodesh? What's so critical? What business does he have to take care of that day? So the Zohar's words are that he goes to Chala Revi, to the fourth quarter of Gan Eden. It's a very high level in Gan Eden. And over there, he looks for the souls of Kol Inun Ktulei Deshar Amin. Anybody who was killed, Ktulei means was killed, Deshar Amin by the Goyim, that the Gentiles killed because he was a Jew. And he looks for all those neshamot. And he gathers all those neshamot that died that month, like in Av, the neshamot that died in Av, in Elul, the neshamot that died in Elul, and so on. And he takes them. V'iyu sharei ubachrei. And Mashiach sits amongst those neshamot, those souls in Gan Eden, in the Shar Revi, in the fourth gate of Gan Eden. And he sits with them, and he cries over the fact that they died because they were Jews. That was the only reason they were Jews. And when he's done crying, he gathers himself, and he takes these souls, and he goes to God's throne. And he stands in front of God's throne, together with all these souls that died that month. And what does God do at that point? Comes the Zohar Kadosh and says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes a part of these souls, whatever that means. I don't know what that means, so I'm not going to try and fool you that I can explain that. But whatever that spiritually means. And he makes out of it a garment. Hashem makes himself a garment out of all these neshamot. And what does he need a garment for? And what's he going to do with this garment? Comes the Zohar Kadosh in Parashat Vayera and writes that there will be a day, inshallah, very soon, that the pasuk says, Yadin bagoyim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to judge all those that hated Am Yisrael and killed them and caused them problems. Malei giviyot, giviyot means corpses, dead bodies, all the pain and suffering and death that the goyim caused the Jews. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to come to the goyim to claim from them the blood of his beloved children, the Jews, he's going to tell them, Lama haragtem et banai, why did you kill my children? And they're going to tell him, we killed your children? We didn't kill your children, what do you want from us? They died, they were idiots, they killed themselves. They caused their own problems, what do you want from us? So the pasuk says, Malei giviyot, he's going to show them a garment made of all those souls, of all those people that died al Kiddush Hashem. And like this, he's going to have evidence, whatever that means, to show that this is what they caused Am Yisrael throughout the generations. So Rav Noga Shal made a very interesting observation on this Zohar. Rav Noga Shal said like this: let's say today you decide, well, during the 9 days we don't go shopping, but afterwards, unless Mashiach comes, then we'll go shopping. You want to go buy a new garment. Why not? Pshat Tova. It's important to dress well. And you walk into a store. There are many obstacles that can happen along the way. Number one, who says you're going to find something? How many times did you go to buy something, you didn't find anything, you came out empty-handed? This didn't fit, the other this, that. Didn't work out. Best case scenario, you did find something. Now you found something. Who says the price of it? Sometimes I find clothes that I love, but the wallet doesn't agree with the plan. The wallet says, buddy, this is not in the budget right now. So it's a very common obstacle. Let's say you passed that obstacle. You could afford it. You found something. And you even like it, which is also a good thing. Maybe you don't know anything about clothes and you have no taste. And you're going to wear something, you're going to look like a clown afterwards. Very common problem today. Well, maybe today it's less, because today if you look like a nutcase, you could say it's a fashion statement. Or you could say I'm a hipster. Huh? I think we should release everybody from Bellevue and call them all hipsters and have a good day. Don't make a difference. I remember when the cell phones first came out, there were still mobile phones, these big, huge contraptions. So the great Rosh Yeshiva, Zalman Auerbach, was very happy when he saw boys with them. You would think that he would be very upset, like what a waste of time. Huh? So he said, why? He says, now he has a solution for everybody who's crazy. He says, one of the things about crazy people is that they talk to themselves. He says, now all we got to do is put him a piece of plastic over here and he's going to be a businessman. And that's it, he's already a prestigious guy. That was my great Rosh Yeshiva, No. So you already found something. Maybe it's not, maybe you think it's nice, but in reality it's not the nicest thing. And even if it's nice, a lot of times when you get home, after you already bought it at that, Americans live on returns. I think we return more than we buy almost. It's out of control what goes on. Yeah, as big as Amazon is, that's how big their return centers are. And the people that have whole businesses are return centers. Who says you're going to end up like, you might like it at 3 in the afternoon, and at night one of your friends tell you, nah, it makes you look fat. And then boom, now you got to give it back. It's not going to work. So for a person to buy something and actually use it and enjoy it, there are a lot of obstacles that can go along the way. By HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there's no mistakes. So if he picks a garment, it's perfect round one. And he doesn't change his mind either, because a human can change his mind. God doesn't change his mind because God's eternal. And if when God has to pick a garment, the garment that he picks is the souls of these holy people that were killed al Kiddush Hashem. Can you imagine how perfect these neshamot are? How holy these great people are? And we're talking about all the generations of Am Yisrael. Ki alecha horagnu kol hayom. Am Yisrael was persecuted generation after generation. We never had a generation of peace, and there was always trouble along the way. But kal vachomer ben benosh kal vachomer, in this generation, that their people, like young Israeli soldiers, that their lives are killed al Kiddush Hashem just for the sake of protecting other Jews. And I say that hand in hand with what I said 2 weeks ago, that there are others that shouldn't be doing that and should be sitting and learning. One doesn't contradict the other. But we have to remember to respect both. These young kids, they risked their lives, and over 23,000 of them died just because they're Jews. That was the only reason. You know how high in Gan Eden these neshamot are. We have no grasp, no glimpse. This is the garment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wears when he wants to come to bring Mashiach, when he wants to come and take vengeance for the Jewish suffering throughout the years. And this, Rav Neugelshel said, this Zohar is the reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Siyata D'Shmaya to that great man, that on his way to gates al-Mavet, to the gates of death in Birkenau, the song and the words that he composed, Ani ma'amin be'emunah shleima beviat HaMashiach. He was really sending a message to Klal Yisrael, that no suffering goes in vain, no struggle goes in vain, there's nothing that goes to waste. Everything HaKadosh Baruch Hu milaktam v'sofram b'beit k'nazav, Hashem takes it and puts it in his most cherished place. And these are the things, and these are the people that are closest to him. Et asher yohav Hashem yochiach. The one who God loves is not the one who has the easy life. It's actually yochiach, the one who it seems like his life is very hard. That's the person who Hashem loves most. Because if a Jew could have a hard life, and afal pikein, and with all of that, he still stays a Jew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niyah b'doro. And with all of that, he still stays a Jew. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Et asher yohav Hashem, this is the person who I love most. In our generation, we definitely can say, and every year we can say it's stronger and stronger, that nobody has it easy anymore. The easy life doesn't exist. We may have a booming economy, and we may have a stock market that's doing very well, and an unemployment rate that's very low, and we may drive fancy cars and have nice houses, but inside it's all empty. People are walking around with a feeling of emptiness, with a feeling of loneliness. Depression is an illness that hit every single corner of the Jewish community. Besides for all the other struggles and illnesses, and I don't want to be pessimistic, God forbid, because we have a lot of blessing in life too, huge amounts of blessing which we can never forget. But we clearly see that there is a certain thing of it, Asher yohav Hashem yochiach. So we're the generation that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves most. And that's why for us, the fact that we come to a shul and learn, even though there's so many other things that we could have had or should have had, and even though there's so many other distractions along the way, this is the generation that technically people have the most friends, no? I'm dan all of you lekav zchut. I judge you all favorably, that God forbid none of you have Facebook. But by the goyim that they do have Facebook, they all have friends, I don't know, in the thousands, followers and friends and likes and this, and they're all lonely people. You have 3,000 friends, why are you lonely? You should feel like on top of the world. You got all these internet superstars that end up committing suicide. You had 1 million followers. You're like a god, a guru. You're killing yourself for what? You're the one who's officially most loved. Because that's the test of the last generation. That on paper, we have friends and we have social life. It's all fake. There's nothing real over there. Api halacha, a text message, is called a k'tiva shelav bar kayama. It's not called a writing that's a bar kayama. That's why api halacha you're allowed to text on Chol HaMoed. You're not allowed to write on Chol HaMoed. But all the poskim hold that you're allowed a text message you could send one. It's a writing that has no kiyum. It has nothing that lasts. So therefore it's not called writing. There are poskim that argue, but the majority hold like that. What does that mean? That the whole social world is virtual, it's fake, there's nothing there. It's a world of emptiness. You have 3,000 friends on Facebook and you're the most lonely person. You don't have one person that'll come help you fix a flat tire. I actually made an experiment like that one day with a boy. I had a boy who was 19, came to my house to fight with me. He told me when he walked in, he said, I came to go to war with you. I said, why'd you come to go to war with me? I said, you're not the first, by the way, so I'm not impressed. But let me hear, what's your stomach ache? So he told me that he was in some speech that I gave a week before, and that I got a commitment out of almost everybody in the room that they're going to shut down their Facebook profiles instantly. And he says, you're crazy, and you're primitive. And he called me all different nice names. I loved everyone. I said, bring him on, the more the merrier. I said, if that's what's called being primitive, oh, Baruch Hashem. Yeah. So I said, no, so what's the fight? You know that this is what I believe, so there's nothing to fight about. Either explain me why I'm wrong, or, you know. So he tells me it could be used for good things. I said, let me hear what. So he starts, first he tried the religious case on me. Tells me, you know how many rabbis have Facebook profiles and they do kiruv? I said, I don't know one. So he says, why? I said, first of all, Baruch Hashem, I don't have Facebook, so I have no idea. I said, second of all, if a rabbi has Facebook, he's not a rabbi. It's 1 + 1 = 2. And yes, I'm not scared to say that on video. Chaim Kanievsky doesn't have a Facebook profile. Gershon Edelstein doesn't have a Facebook profile. Shalom Cohen doesn't have a Facebook profile. Yitzchak Yosef doesn't have a Facebook profile. All Agdolim don't have. So a few youngsters that think they're cool, you know, and want to be celebrities online and think they're... So that's called... Oy lanu shekach alta biyamenu. It's a busha. And second of all, if you take glad kosher meat and you cook it in a not kosher pot, al pi halacha, is it kosher or not? Glad kosher, chalak, Bet Yosef, the best shchita. The best! It's treif. What do you mean? But it was cooked in a not kosher pot. So you take glad kosher Torah and you put it in a not kosher vessel, what happens to the Torah? It's the sitra acha. It all goes to the sitra acha. I said, so not only isn't this something that's accomplishing something for Judaism, this is destroying Judaism more than the non-religious. This is causing the destruction of Judaism itself. Because it's giving power to kochot hatumah that's yonek mikoach hakdusha, that's able to suck it out of holiness, and that's where it gets its only power from. I said, that's a stupid case. So now let's go on. What else do you have to say? Business, you can't do business without it. So I showed him humbly, a bunch of us that Baruch Hashem have very big empires, and none of us have it. So that case is wrong too. I even showed him a person who's a close friend of mine, who b'li ayin hara is on the top 100 in Forbes in the world. That's not a bad gig. Right? You got to be worth a bunch of billions for that. And forget about a Facebook profile. He doesn't even have text messaging on his phone. He has a flip phone that you can't send a text message from. And he's still worth the double digits of billions. And so, that's not a case either. I said, second off, you need it for business. A guy could do it for you. What else? He says, how do you keep up with your friends? I said, that's exactly my problem. That's why I said what I said. I said, because you have friends in fantasy. Some of us want to have friends in reality. He says, what do you mean? I said, post right now in your thing, but not in my room, because I have a custom that I don't stay in the same room with somebody who's on one of those things. Go outside and go onto your thing and post that you're stuck outside my house with a flat tire. You need somebody to come help you. How many friends do you have over there? I think he told me 4,000. I said, let's see if anybody's coming. 10 minutes later, he says, you killed me. I said, no, you should live a long, healthy life. You're a great guy. But now just do one thing, deactivate. Join the movement. That's it, just join the movement. That's all I said, no, you should live and be well. Honest kid. The kid who came in to fight walked out without Facebook. In a matter of 20 minutes. When he realized that sheker, the emptiness, and this is a generation that's suffering. Because if a guy doesn't have friends, so maybe he'll make an effort to make friends. But if a guy has a way to lie to himself that he does have friends, so now what does he need to make an effort for? I have friends. But in reality, it doesn't work emotionally. So now he's caught between the two worlds. It's like, imagine somebody takes a medicine that he really needs to keep him alive, but by mistake, instead of the medicine, he took the wrong bottle out of the closet, and instead of his medicine for his heart condition, he's taking vitamin C. He's going to drop dead. It's not going to work. Because he fell between it's not his fault, but he fell between his cracks. I don't blame anybody. This is the trend of the world. Of course that's what people follow. But at the end of the day, you fall between the cracks. You're not here, you're not there. There's nothing left. And with all of that, Am Yisrael Chai V'Kayam. Look what's going on. We have Shir after shir, full of people learning. Shuls packed with people coming to pray. Shana Kippur, Elul season, forget about it. There's no room anywhere. Everything's sold out. We could build who knows how many more yeshivot and places and that. This year, guys told me already now that because they're planning it, they needed my help with some logistic planning from Latin America and different countries. Hundreds of businessmen, and many of them very successful businessmen, closing their work, not for 2 days, for a month, coming to Lakewood to learn for a month straight. Who would think that in this generation, in 2018, there could be hundreds and hundreds of business people that will close their companies or let them run on its own practically, virtually, for a month to come learn Torah? You know, that doesn't shamayim, you know, it doesn't make sense. When I heard it at the beginning, I thought this was a prank. I said, guys, stop wasting my time. What, do you need a play? They said, find us a hotel that has 80 rooms. I said, 80 rooms? What do you need 80 rooms for? They tell me we have 160 guys that want to come. I said, 160 guys want to come? I said, family, for one night? I said, no, for like a month. I said, 1 month. They said, in Elul, we want to come learn. I thought this was a joke. So I said, okay, no, next. It's a cute prank. They said, no, we're serious. I said, what are you serious? You're going to leave your businesses? It's going to, besides for your loss of business, it's going to cost you a fortune of money too, to stay, food, this, that, and always picking up your tabs for you. It's going to cost you time. It's going to cost you, we have to get coal guys to learn with you. That might cost a couple of, everything we have to learn. Kiddush Hashem. That's Am Yisrael Chai V'Kayam. That means with all the tsar and with everything, the Ani Ma'amin still stays in a way that Am Yisrael lives with it. That's yeah. As my Rebbe told me last week when I had the schut to see him in Eretz Yisrael, Hashem should send him a refuah shlema b'meira, that he says today people think God's bankrupt. He says, I want to break you the news. HaKadosh Baruch Hu lo pashat taregel. God's not bankrupt. If anything, business is running better than ever. And even those who aren't so observant, today everybody's anusim. They're not. There's nobody who does anything to spy. These are anusim. They don't know better. And even if they think they know better, they're so blinded by everything they're busy with that they can't know better. It's not they have no way to know better. So even there's no Avera b'mezid today. A few idiots maybe, but in general, there's no such thing. This is a big, big thing. That means that dafka mitoch ha'evil, dafka from the morning of the temple, we can bring actually the opposite extreme. We can flip it around to a great redemption, and that's our job to focus right now. Chazal HaKadoshim say, Gemara Masechet Yuma Daf Tet Amud Bet. The Gemara says, Mikdash Sheni, the second temple, Shayu Oskim BaTorah uBaMitzvot, they sat and learned, they studied, Ubigmilut Chasadim, and they did acts of kindness. Bipnei Macharav, why was it destroyed? They were tzaddikim, they did everything right. Comes the Gemara and says, Bipnei Shehaita Bo Sinat Chinam, because it had in it baseless hatred. They hated each other for no reason. We spoke about Sinat Chinam many years, many ways, many times, but we have to understand, what does it mean, Sinat Chinam? Sinat Chinam mean? So there's a lot of pshatim in it. In the previous years we explained it in different ways. This year I want to say a new pshat, a pshat that I actually read in a kid's book. It's beautiful that Baruch Hashem today our children have books that are so educational, have such nice things in it. I was reading one of these kids' books that I wanted to buy my son. I wanted to skim through it first to make sure that it's something that I wanted to read. And I saw in there, it's called Avoteinu Sipru Lanu. Our fathers told us stories. It's a storybook for kids. And in there he brings down a Ben Ish Chai that I didn't know. Amazing, amazing Ben Ish Chai that explains the idea of Sinat Chinam. This Ben Ish Chai is actually, I found the source afterwards, is in Parashat Kiddushim. The Ben Ish Chai says in Parashat Kiddushim an interesting thing. It says in the olden days, it wasn't like today that court systems and that, a guy got in legal trouble. Well, the king decided what his fate is. And by then prison wasn't a common thing, because prison costs money. When we put a guy into jail, it costs the taxpayer, who knows how much money every year, I don't know the exact numbers, but some insane amount of money. In California, for example, they recently released many, many prisoners that are low-risk prisoners because it just wasn't worth keeping them in jail. It's too expensive. They said, just get out of here, whatever. There's no room and it's too expensive. It's a waste of time and money. So in the olden days, it's known. The kings would cut right and left. You would drop dead, you this, you that, and they would kill freely. They couldn't care less. They were dictators. There was nothing that stopped them. Until today, there are countries that are like that. The Ben Ish Chai says there was once a guy who was caught stealing. They brought him in front of the king. And he was caught black and white. It wasn't an accusation. There was no way to get out of it. And the king tells him, the guy say, you stole? Did you steal or not? And he says, yes, I stole. And the king says, so you're taking responsibility for your actions? So he says, sure. He says, you know that if you stole in this country, if you steal, we kill you. You're going to die. Maybe I'm giving you a chance. Prove me that you didn't steal. He said, how can I prove you that you didn't steal? I stole and they caught me red-handed. It's black and white. There's no questions over here. I have no defense. So the king says, you have any excuse, at least, anything to say for yourself? So he says, no. But I do have one thing to tell you. It has nothing to do with my stealing. He said, what? So that you decided to kill me, I accept. I stole. I deserve my punishment. I'm owning up to what I did. I accept it. He says, but I have a different thing. He says, what's the different thing? He said, I have a certain chokhmah, a certain wisdom that I know, that I'm the only person in the world that knows, that if you're going to kill me, nobody else is going to ever know it, and it's going to be lost forever. Now, I'm not playing hostage here that you should keep me alive because of that, because what do you care? You're not going to do that. But I'm asking you for a favor, that at least before you kill me, bring somebody who I could teach this trade to, so the trade shouldn't die. The world should be able to benefit from my patent one day. So the king said, I agree, no problem. What's your patent? Let's see if it's worth teaching somebody. So he says, normally when you plant a seed and you want to get a fruit tree out of it, it takes years and years till the tree grows, and if it grows up. He says, I have a way, you stick a tree into the ground, 30 minutes later the fruits start growing. The tree is up, there's fruits, there's everything. King says, you serious? He says, yeah, I'm not joking. He says, so that's something we don't want to lose, you're right. He says, who do you want to teach it to? He says, Your Honor, I don't care, anybody you pick, you're the king. So the king points to one of his ministers over there and he says, teach it to him. He's the minister of finance, I trust him most. He should do it. So he takes a seed, they bring him a seed, they bring him a pot with dirt. The king wants to see that it really works. And he tells the news, are you going to plant it? He says, I can't. He said, why not? He says, there's one catch to this patent. He says, what? He said, anybody who ever stole or did something dishonest in his life, if he plants the seed, it doesn't work anymore. That's the catch. And then he tells the guy, so you take the seed, because you never stole, right? You're the minister of finance. And you plant it. The minister of finance, you understand? So he very innocently said, Your Honor, the king, when I was a young kid, maybe it wasn't so good, the situation. Okay. Let's go to the next guy. He says, go to my head warden. They bring him in, tells him, you planted. Your Honor, I was a teenager and also, had some debts I didn't pay back. It's also a form of stealing. No. And he says, okay, so pick somebody up from the street. I don't know. Let's try the next person. They pick a random guy up. He says, Your Honor, my taxes, I work off the books. It's also a form of stealing. And, I can't, I'm sorry, I can't. So this prisoner that's about to be killed says, King, you're the perfect man, you do it. And the king's quiet and he says, I'm scared that maybe when I was a young kid I also took a little food and stuff from the house when my mother didn't want. It's also a form of stealing. And the guy looks at the king and he says, aha. So the king who was raised in the wealthy house stole. The minister of finance who makes a multi-million-dollar salary stole. The random person off the street steals. And all those are okay. But me, the poor person who didn't have his next meal and didn't pay for food that he took from a grocery store, is the one that should get the death sentence. Can you explain me how that makes sense? And obviously the king left him off the hook. This is the Ben Ish Chai. Comes the Ben Ish Chai and says an unbelievable thing. He says one day HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to come to a person when he faces God face to face, either after 120 or hopefully way before that when Mashiach comes. And Hashem's going to show him like a video everything he did in his life. This day he was supposed to put on tefillin and you didn't have time. The other day he was supposed to keep Shabbat and you were busy on TV instead. And the third day you were supposed to eat kosher and you rounded it off. You said there's a K somewhere in the name of the company, that's close enough. And the fourth day you were in Cancun and saw Marot Asurot. And the situation's going to be very, very grave. And the person's going to be like, oy vey, now what do I do? I was caught red-handed. And the Kosh Baruch Hu is going to tell him, no, so give me a case. Give me a case. Give me something that I could, give me something. Give me something to hold on to. He says, I want to let you off the hook. I'm not looking to prosecute you. Comes the Ben Ish Chai and says, what could a person say at that point? There's nothing to say. He's busted red-handed. He says, there's one thing that a person can say. He can say that in my life, I never hated a Jew, and I never judged a Jew. And therefore, God, you can't hate me for what I did, and you can't judge me. And if a person can say that to Hashem, Hashem says it makes no difference what you did your whole life. I wipe it all out, you have a clean slate, everything's beautiful. Comes the Ben Ish Chai and says, that's the pshat in the pasuk. Kocheach tochiach et amitecha. The Torah gives us a mitzvah to give tochacha, to rebuke somebody who's doing a sin. But the Ben Ish Chai says, what does the Torah say right after that? V'lo tisa alav chet. Be aware, you might not want to keep this mitzvah. Because if you go rebuke somebody else and you yourself do the same thing in a different way, sometimes a guy in the same speech could speak about how severe it is to talk Lashon Hara and then talk bad about another Jew in the same sentence. And I heard fools like that in my life. More than once, unfortunately. In the same sentence, do it. V'lo tisa alav chet comes the pasuk. Be aware that whatever you consider a sin and you judge another Jew for sinning, Hashem one day is going to hold you to it. So if you went to another Jew and said, why don't you keep Shabbat? And after 120, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to come to you and check every Shabbat to make sure that you kept it. And if you went to another Jew and said, you're doing this and this and this, Hashem's going to come to you and go after you on each and everything. So maybe you should think twice before you judge somebody. And then the Ben Ish Chai continues and he says, Lo tikom v'lo titor et bnei amecha ve'avta l'reacha kamocha. Don't take vengeance, don't judge, don't take revenge. Why? Ve'avta l'reacha kamocha. Because the way you love your friend is the way Hashem one day is going to deal with you. Comes the Gemara in Masechet Yuma and says, the Ben Ish Chai explains the Fizeh. Beit Sheni, they learned Torah. They kept mitzvot. They did Gmilut Chasadim. They did everything right. Why was it destroyed? Because when Midat Adin came down to the world, Kosh Baruch Hu said to them, wait a second. How did you judge the other people? And Chazal say, He'emidu divrehem al din Torah. They were very judgmental. That's called Sinat Chinam. What does baseless hate mean? If you hate somebody else for no reason, then you're a nutcase. Then you're shoteh patur min hamitzvot. That's not an issue. You're crazy. I hate you. Why? No reason. Sugar nut, no. Because Sinat Chinam means you hate somebody else and you're a fool because you're harming yourself for hating somebody else. That means if we really want the Beit HaMikdash, which I hate saying things that sound negative, but I'm not convinced that many people want Mashiach right now. Business is good, let him wait. The next stock crash, then maybe he should come. But for now, things are good. I still want to go to Thailand, I still want to go here, I still have plans, I have vacation plans. Right now, Mashiach doesn't fit in my schedule. But if there is somebody who really wants Mashiach for the right reasons, then the first thing we have to do is to make sure that by us, in our own personal lives, we live in a situation that we only have nice things to say about Am Yisrael, and we only have positive words to say about those. And that's why I constantly stress, almost every week again, even those that sometimes we say harsh words about things that they do, it's not about them personally, including the rabbis, quote unquote, that have Facebook. They're anusim, the tinokot shenishbu. They might know a few pages in Gemara, but they don't know better. This web is so strong, it captures everybody. Everybody gets lost in it. It's not their fault. And even those that do fight against the Torah and pass the law in Israel to stop yeshiva boys last week, they're also anusim. It's not their fault. They don't know better. What should we do? Somebody who's raised on hate his whole life against Orthodox Jews and he hates Orthodox Jews, what do you want from him? It's not his fault. He never had a chance to see the beauty of Orthodox Judaism. It has nothing to do with it. Hashem, these are tzaddikim. They don't know better. There's just lost, pain souls. And even our youngsters that grew up in Alana Yeshivot and today might be far away from there, it's not their fault either. They have so much pain that they're carrying inside that even if they wanted to do the right thing, they can't. It's impossible. When a person goes past a certain point of emotional pain, he can't function anymore. And you can't expect from him to function. And Hashem feels every Jew's pain, so He knows exactly how much pain our youth is in. And he understands why they're in the situation that they're in. And that's why the only tikkun, the only hope that we have in order to rectify this and in order to strengthen the generation is to proactively be involved in ve'afta l'reacha kamocha, and things that have to do with loving other Jews and with not judging other Jews. I want to end off with a thought. And here's a thought with a strong message as well. Rabbi Chanan Wasserman and Chazon Ish also has a long discussion about this. Zechet Tzadikim Livracha. Say they don't understand this mitzvah. How can you command somebody to love somebody else? I either love you or I don't. Can you command me to love you? Imagine you set a boy and a girl up on a date and you tell them, propose tonight. Why? Because you love her. He says, no, I don't. I don't know her at all. I met her for 1 hour. He said, no, you're commanded to love her. What? I don't. Now what? Can you command somebody to love something? You can't even command somebody to like something. If you have a food that you don't like and I tell you, like it? No. I don't like it. Now what? Leave me alone. It's not my style. It's an interesting, everybody understands that. And the Torah is a mitzvah that says, a commandment, go love another Jew like you love yourself, which is actually a double commandment, that both are hard to keep. And I think the second part is a lot harder than the first part. First you have to love yourself. That's the hardest challenge in life. And then after that, now go love other people. Command somebody. Abu Chanan and Kovetz Ha'arot has a whole discussion about this in Masachet Yevamot. And Chazon Ish wrote about this a lot as well. And they both concluded the same thing. Then the mitzvah of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha is not a mitzvah to love somebody. You can't command somebody to love somebody else. It's a mitzvah to do actions of kindness towards others, because the more you give, the more you love. And as you will give another person, you'll end up developing love for him. I never had the merit to be involved in this, but I know many, many people that do this, whether it's for a profession or chesed, that help autistic children, for example. And I'm just randomly picking an example. And these kids don't really communicate much with them, right? There's not much, lo aleinu, they're not well, and their communication is very limited. And people that dealt with the same child for a long period of time, even if it was on a professional basis and they were getting paid by the hour to do so, have a huge, huge, huge amount of love for these kids. A love to the point that, lo aleinu, if something was to happen to one of these children, and a lot of them have a very low life expectancy, they're traumatized and scarred like the worst situations in the world. You never communicated with the person, you were never able to hold a conversation with them. You had to deal with the most uncomfortable situations with them because of their medical condition, and now you're in such pain and such sorrow because something happened to them. What's the answer? That these people gave their neshama for the other kid. They gave their soul to help this autistic child. So as a result of doing that, they develop a certain feeling and a certain relationship with these children that makes them really, really sincerely love them in an amazing way. Comes Rabbi Chanan and Chazon Ish, and they say that's the mitzvah. V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Go think what you want done for you, or what you would like to have in your life, and first make sure your friend has it. Then take care of yourself. First make sure your friend has it, and then take care of yourself. Very interesting thing. I witnessed a very, very beautiful thing today, and I'm not here to give a plug to a store, that's not my goal, in Bravo Pizza. I got to Queens a little early for a change, and I decided to get myself 2 slices of pizza. I went into Bravo's, and I'm waiting online, and I see a gentleman that I know very well. He comes here sometimes to the classes, and I told him he's going to be in tonight's class, and he told me, okay, so I'm not coming tonight. And I shouldn't have told him. And he was on line 1 before me. He offered me to go ahead in the line. I told him, Api Halacha, that's wrong. So he said, why? I said, there's other people on the line too, and they don't understand it, and then it's not fair to them. I don't cut lines, no matter what. And he said, no, but anyway, I have to make a phone call. So I said, what do you mean you have to make a phone? So make your phone call afterwards. Not online, it's rude. So he says, no, I just realized that I didn't ask my friend, and he told me a name of another guy, also we know, that's in some sort of schooling now. I don't know what school's still open now, but I guess a summer program or something. And he gets done at 8:30. I didn't ask him what he wants to eat today, and I want to bring him food. So I said, okay, so put your order in, so that you get ready in the meantime. Go out, call him, come back, put his order. He says, no, I always make sure that others have what they need first. And he said it so innocently without realizing what he was saying. I said, Rebbeinu Shalom, Here I thought that I somehow am involved in chesed in life. And here's a boy who's maybe 19, 20, who made me disappear instantly. He won't order himself food before he thinks maybe my friend who's in school and or whatever, doing something for school, didn't eat, let's see if I get what he needs for tonight. That's why Haftalah Re'acha, first Re'acha, and then Kamocha, and then he takes care of himself. Unbelievable thing. It's a very high level to get to. So I want to tell you a story about this. There was a great tzaddik, Rav Nochum Chernobyl, Zecher Tzadik Levacha, Zchutei Yagen Aleinu. And he was known for many, many great deeds that he's done to help the poor. All tzaddikim. Part of being a tzaddik is to help aniyim. If you don't help aniyim, by definition, you can't be a tzaddik. He used to go from place to place and door to door, and he would embarrass himself. Here's the great Rebbe, and he would literally embarrass himself to beg so people should give money for aniyim. And let me tell you, as one who runs many foundations at tzedakah, it's so uncomfortable to have to ask for money. You want to bury yourself before you do it sometimes. And sometimes the responses that you get, people practically throw you out of their offices and tell you, you just bugged me last month, leave me alone for a while. It's really uncomfortable and unpleasant. Imagine in those days when money wasn't so readily available like today, what he had to go through. But in general, because of who he was and how respected he was, people helped. And every time it was a new story. His main mitzvah was called Pidyon Shvuim. Pidyon Shvuim is if somebody is a captive by the goyim or in prison or whatever, to get him out. In those days they used to do it through bribes and money, whatever they did. So he would raise money for it. The Gemara says they were even allowed to sell a Sefer Torah for Pidyon Shvuim. Our version of Pidyon Shvuim today is to take a struggling boy or girl and to help them do well in life. They're captive in their own negative thoughts, so now we have to get them out of their own prison. That's Pidyon Shvuim al pi halacha. And I have a psak from Rabbi Yashiv that you're allowed to sell a Sefer Torah to help a boy like that out. I have a psak from Rabbi Yashiv like that. Unbelievable. But anyway, so one day, he was going around his usual rounds for Pidyon Shvuim. And he went to one of his students who was a very famous rich man, and he told him that he needs money for Pidyon Shvuim. So the rich man told him, listen Rabbi, you came on a good day. He says, why? He said, I just closed a big deal. I just got paid for a very big deal. I have a lot of money for Maisa now, a lot of charity I want to give. But I want to make sure it's going to something that I agree with. So you got to tell me who the person is, and if I think it's a good cause, I give you the whole thing. You don't have to go to anybody. It's all on me. So the Rebbe said, it's not a secret who it is. The whole town knows he got arrested. I can tell you who it is. And he told them a name of a person. Who was this person? He was a known lowlife, who was on top of everything, a drunk, and he had all the problems in the world. And this guy looks at the Rebbe and says, what are you, crazy? Even $5 I'm not giving you. Nothing. You're not getting a coin from me. He says, why not? He says, he's a lowlife. He doesn't deserve any help. He says, come to me, tell me that there's a story of a Talmid Chacham that we have to help out. Fine, but some lowlife, that's who we have to help. Hashem Yirachem, Hashem should forgive us, but today they're idiots that think that way too. Sometimes I go to a guy to say, we need money for a guy to send a boy to rehab. And the guy tells me, if he became a druggie, I have to give money now? Idiots. Pikuach nefesh. Who cares what he did or didn't do? We have to save the guy's life. This is what's going to help him save his life. And who are you to judge? You know what brought him to that situation? It's people like you that are so judgmental that even caused him to get into the problem in the first place. If he would have not felt so lonely and judged his whole life, he would have never gotten into this situation. He said, you're the root of the problem. You should pay double, not just for him. You should pay for everybody. You're the whole root of the problem here. But people think like that. So the Rebbe heard that. He said, okay, you don't want to give, don't need no favors from you, and he left. The Chassid thought the Rebbe agreed with him. Look, he left. He didn't even challenge me. He didn't try to explain me. He did nothing. He walked out. Rab Nochem used to have a shiur that he would learn privately with one chavruta every night. And it was known that he used to close himself in a room and there's no access to him. Even his own family, there was no access to him. That night, he tells his chavruta before they start learning, go call this rich guy and tell him I want him to come to join us learning. This rich guy gets a knock on his door. The Rebbe's chavruta is saying to come join the private chavruta that even his own family can't walk in. He felt on top of the world. He says, look, the Rebbe agreed with me so well that now he's even repaying me a favor. He's calling me to learn. He shows up, big smile on his face. And Rav Nochem tells him, listen, Tzaddik, tonight we're learning a Gemara and I wanted you to learn with us because you're a very special person. He So we're learning a Gemara that talks about the story of Kamtza Bar Kamtza. Obviously we don't have the time to go through that whole Gemara with the whole story, but if I had to bet, all of you know the story more or less. But I'm going to tell you one piece of the Gemara, and the way Rav Nochem translated the Gemara, you take it home and you should have a wonderful Shabbat. The Gemara says that there was a person who had a person Ohavo, that he loved, and his name was Kamtza. Kamtza, Rav Nochem explained him as Kamtzan, a stingy person. And then he told him to his face, you should just know, b'derech klal, normally, who's the stingiest people? The wealthy. Unfortunately, I know that that's true. We have a very close friend that's very not well now, and it costs us crazy amounts of money to keep him alive and to keep his family well and everything. And the friends have to pitch in to give money every month, and people, we all get together every month to make sure things can run. And coal guys that make $80 a week in Lakewood Yeshiva commit to $500 a month, which is more than they earn. And I go to rich people, and I'm not judging them, chas v'shalom. I think they're also anusim. They're blinded by their money. They give me $150. They tell me, so many people come to us. I said, what did Hashem give you the money for if not to give it away? And then as quick as He gave it to you, that's how quick He'll take it from you. Are you stupid? Like, what are you thinking? Why did Hashem give it to you? He gave it to you to keep in a bank? Hashem's not here to support Swiss banks. He doesn't need them. Hashem's here to support Aniyim. That's why the Chazal say that. All you are is a pipe. I said, more than that, it's not even yours. He loaned it to you to give, so you should have a schus to have a mitzvah. He says, B'derech klal, the kamtzanim hashim. Chas v'shalom, I'm not generalizing. I want to tell you clearly, from experience, there's so many rich Jews in the Sephardic and Ashkenazic world that are charity people in ways that you'll never understand. You'll never understand. They're people that do things that make no sense. It's tzaddikim in a way that there's no way to explain. One very wealthy person told me recently, and he didn't mean to tell it to me, he slipped. He said, you have to wait another few days, come back and I'll be able to help you with a certain cause. So I said, fine. And I know he always gives. So I walked out. I said, maybe something went wrong in his business. Today you have to be careful what you think and say. And a few days later, I came back and he gave a huge amount. And I told him, tzaddik, if it's tight now or whatever, so, there are other people too. I'll go to somebody else. It's not, I don't want you to feel pressured. I'll take charity from somebody if he feels pressured to give it. So he tells me, no, that's not the story at all. So I said, what's the story then? And he slipped. He didn't realize what he said. Then afterwards he said, I don't know what you're going to do with the story, but you better not say my name. And he says, I give out 90% of what I make every month. He says, this month, when you came to me, it was before the first of the month, and I had already gotten a flag warning from my accountant that I gave out 94%. So I felt that's already not responsible. So I told you to come back after the first of the month so I could give. We're talking about a guy, if you want to put things in perspective, that has over 1,400 employees in New York City alone. So imagine the magnitude of his businesses. He gives out 90% of what he makes. He says, why? He said, who decided that Maisa is 10% for the poor and 90% for me? Maybe Maisa is 10% for me. Hashem gave me 10%, 90% is for the Aniyim. Now, of course, a regular person, unless he's very wealthy, shouldn't be doing things like that. But yeah, that's a guy's living amongst us. And now let me tell you more than that. If you would see him on the street and you're a judgmental person, you would say, look at this guy. He doesn't even wear a kippah. Simple guy. See him walking down the street, and you wouldn't know he's rich unless you know who he is, and you definitely wouldn't know that he's such a big Baal Tzedakah. Here's a guy, he walks down the street, right? The guys say, look at him, can't we even wear a kippah? He lives in from town. And in Shamayim, he has tens of thousands of hours a minute. 1 minute of his is tens of thousands of hours of yeshiva boys around the world that are learning just because of his charity. In Gan Eden, they didn't build a Gan Eden big enough for a person like this yet. Another lesson on how great we have to be and how much we have to be careful before we judge anybody in any situation. So this wasn't a generalization. I'm just giving over what he said in that, the way he explained the Gemara. This guy who had a person we loved, Kamtza, also had a person who he hated. He said, normally which people are the quickest to be hated? Poor people. Why? Because it's hard to relate to them, because sometimes they're pains in the neck, because they don't always look good, they don't always smell good, It's not always easy to love somebody who's homeless and in the dumps. It takes a lot of effort to really love people in all situations. He said, but normally the poor people are actually very generous because they don't have what to lose. They don't have anything anyway, so whatever they do have, they share because they know what it means to suffer. He said this person went and he hated the poor that were generous and loved the rich that were stingy. He made a suda. And he said, bring me kamtza, bring me the rich guy, my stingy friend. Tell him to come. And instead the guy went and brought bar kamtza, the poor friend. He confused the two, the one who he hated. So the guy sees the poor guy who he hates by his parties is this guy, but it's a black tie event. What's he doing here? I love the way they invite you to a wedding and then tell you how to dress. What's coming next? I don't know. Maybe they'll tell you what type of car to pull up with. A Mercedes event. That's the night. How sick could the world become? Black tie event. Don't tell me what to do. You want me to come to the... Mind your own business. And we're the liberal world. And we're the liberal world. I walked into some meeting this week somewhere, and I was wearing a t-shirt. And one of the guys that came with me said, maybe you should go quickly buy a button-down shirt with a blazer before the meeting. Huh? I said, Meshuggah, what am I, a slave to them? Do I work for somebody over here? Do I have an obligation to them? This is business. If Hashem wants it to come, it'll come. And if not, not. It's a hot day, and this is what makes me comfortable right now. Leave me alone. So when I walked in, everybody was wearing suits and ties except for me. So this guy pinches me and he tells me, you see what's going on? Look, you're embarrassing us. I said, watch this. I said, dudes, you know who my mentor in life was? Not that it's true, God forbid. Steve Jobs. You know what he taught me? To wear $10 t-shirts from Walmart. That's why I got this. And then everybody laughed. We had a very good meeting, Baruch Hashem. It was very successful. You're going to tell how to cover? For what? Okay. This is a poor guy. Look how he's dressed. It's in my party. It doesn't fit. Let him get out of here, right? Get out of here. So he goes over to him and he says, I hate you. Get out of here. You're not black tie. You don't belong by my party. So he tells him, yeah, it must have been a mistake, but once I'm here, let me stay. He says, no. He says, why? Because I'm going to cost you another plate. I'll pay for my plate. By the way, this is a Gemara that proves that in the olden days there was no such Bukharian custom as paying for your plate. The poor person had to say that he's going to pay for his plate. Otherwise, it was never done before in Jewish history. And hopefully they'll cancel that minhag right away. No. He says, you know what? He'll up that. He says, don't embarrass me. I'll borrow money, I'll arrange money, whatever it is. The Gemara doesn't say how. I'll pay for half the event. Just don't embarrass me. Don't throw me out. No. He says, afterwards he says, I'll sell myself as a slave even. That's the way the Rebbe explained the Gemara. And whatever it is, just don't throw me out. And anyway, he picked him up and he threw him out of the party. So the Gemara over there says that Kamsa thought to himself, Baal Kamsa thought to himself, Ho'il that the Chachamim were there, since the righteous were there, and they didn't stop this from happening, that means they're part of it. So I'm going to go and I'm going to incriminate the Jewish nation, and that's what he did, and the second temple was destroyed as a result of this in the story. But the Rebbe explained the Gemara, it wasn't Lifnei HaMelech, the king. That's the story of the Gemara. He says, what does that have to do with me today? That happened almost 2,000 years ago. He says, you know what it has to do with us today? Melech is Malko Shel Olam, it's the Ribono Shel Olam. He says, there's only one way that the Yetzer Hara could come to the Ribono Shel Olam and tell him that the Jews rebelled. He says, look, there's poor Jews that aren't being taken care of. There are poor Jews that are being rejected. There are people that can't afford tuition, that the schools are not accepting them. There are people that are struggling in different situations in life that nobody's there for them. And then the Satan can go to Malko Shel Olam, he can come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and have a ta'ana on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But even then Hashem doesn't want to hear it, so he says, what are you talking about? The Jews are not like that. No way. What does the Gemara say there? That when he went to the Kesar, he told them, I'll prove you that the Jews hate you. How are you going to prove you? Try to send a korban, a sacrifice to the temple, you'll see they won't accept it. What did he do? He was a shyster. He took the korban, the king sent the korban. Really, we do accept korbanot from Goyim, Pnei Shalom Malchut, so we shouldn't have issues. But he made a mum in it that according to the Goyim, it's not called a blemish. According to the halacha, it's considered a blemish. So they didn't know what to do. At the end, they didn't accept it. The Gemara has a whole explanation there why, and it caused a big problem. But how does the Gemara say? The Gemara over there says, Beniv Sfatayim Bedukin Sheba'ayin. In the lips and in the eye. Those were the blemishes that were made that by the Goyim weren't considered a blemish. Therefore, there was no justified reason not to accept the sacrifice. And by the Jews were. The Cherner Rebbe told his student, he said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells the Satan when he comes to him and he says that the Jews are sinning, get out of here. I don't buy that story. He says, what do you mean you don't buy that story? I'll prove it to you. He says, how are you going to prove it? He says, because they don't take care of the poor. He says, what do you mean they're poor? He says, well, what does poor have to do with a korban? The Zohar Kadosh writes that today we don't have korbanot. So there are poor people in Klal Yisrael that sacrifice their lives as if they were korbanot for the sake of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. These are the holiest things, the holiest people that live today. And he says, but what do people do? They want to make believe that they don't see it. Guy comes collecting in shul and the guy walks out the other door. He shouldn't bug me. You get a phone call, you don't pick it up. It's some rabbi asking for money for Israel. Forget about it. Send him to voicemail. Bidukim sheba'ayin, I didn't see him. In the dakut, in the fine day, I didn't see you. I didn't know. And sfatayim, lip service. We pledge, we promise, and we don't pay. And there, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Chas v'Shalom can get the Jews. Why dafka there? That's the closing case to what we said. Because as long as a Jew cares about another Jew and helps another Jew and takes care of another Jew, then the Yetzer Hara has nothing to say. Because at that point, just like I'm one who doesn't judge, and I'm one who works on myself to love by giving and by doing, the Yetzer Hara is dead. It's all over. He has nothing to say. But the second I'm not one of those people who's proactive, then the Yetzer Hara has a lot to say already. Tzion b'mishpat tibadeh. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to help that Zion, not Zion the Zionists, Ahavdil. Tzion, Eretz Yisrael, b'mishpat tibadeh, v'shavea. How are we going to return to Eretz Yisrael? B'karov, b'tzdakah. In the merit that we help Am Yisrael in the biggest way. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help. We should all be balei tzedakah, balei avat chinam, and we should see Mashiach Tzidkenu b'meira. Amen v'amen.